All right. Hello, YouTube. I thought I'd make a video talking about dating once again for autistic people, especially for autistic men, because I'm a man, right? So I only know my own perspective. I don't know the perspective of a woman. So that's why I'm talking about online dating and dating in general for men on the spectrum. If you watched any of my other videos, you know that I was late diagnosed, and I've only really known about my diagnosis for about 18 months. So I'm 36 years old right now, and I got my diagnosis at 35, and it did explain a lot of things for me. And it did explain a lot of things when it came to my struggles with dating, with intimacy, with physicality, and all those different things. But what's interesting for me, and maybe for you too, I don't know, is that I was able to fix my dating situation, my dating life, before I knew I was autistic. So essentially from when it really probably started when I was 22, 23, but I didn't really take it very seriously until I was around 25. I would focus almost all of my attention on fixing my dating life, meeting women, figuring out everything in and around, being able to talk to women and going on dates and being able to take things further, talking about sex and relationships and all that. And it took me a good 3 years of doing a lot of stuff, going out almost every single day, talking to women, and trying to figure out, how'd I do this? When I got my diagnosis, that's when I understood, okay, this is why it's so difficult for me. This is why I couldn't figure it out, right? Because if I look back into my life, I knew there were times when there were girls that liked me, but I just didn't know what to do about it. So I could sense that, okay, this girl here, she likes me. Now, what do I do? So I didn't know. And I would go into kind of a freak out mode in my mind. This was in my, late teens and early 20s, when I was still in school. Now, after I graduated from school and I didn't really have that forced proximity to a lot of people, because I became self-employed right after high school, so I didn't really meet very many people. And when you're not in that forced proximity with women, then you're not really getting a lot of opportunities to meet women, right? Unless you go on apps or you actively go out to meet women. So that's when I decided, as I said, around 22, 23, I decided that I need to fix this part of my life. And fast forward a couple years from that, I would go out almost every single day trying to figure this out. Now, when we talk about dating and anything that has to do with socializing and social dynamics, and doing that from an autistic perspective, there will always be the question of masking. And I've been asking myself this question a lot after I got my diagnosis, and that is, did I just learn how to mask at like a hyper level? Or have I learned social skills to the point where it allows me to have a structure for how to meet women or how to act during a date, or, how to structure a date, if you will. and then allow myself to be kind of free within that structure. Is that what I did? Or have I just learned how to mask at a really high level? And I think the answer to that might be a little bit of both. And to be honest, I'm not 100% sure what it is. Because another thing that's come up for me after, and I don't know if you can relate to that, but if you got your diagnosis late, the first few months are super strange. And for me, the first few months were like, okay, whatever. And then slowly but surely I started understanding, okay, so I'm having problems wearing jeans because I have sensory issues, because I'm autistic. Okay. This is why I didn't like when people hugged me. This is why I felt it was weird to kiss. And all these things start coming up. And after a few more months, I would start thinking about my whole dating system, if you will, that I'd spent several years developing. And if that is it a high masking thing, or is it just me having a structure? And as I said, I think it could be a little bit of both. But I'm not 100% sure. So I don't know, because, when you're late diagnosed and you try to unmask, you at least I do, I get to that point where I'm thinking, who am I really? Right? Who am I? Am I this person who I was when I was, 7 years old, flapping my hands and, rocking back and forth all the time? Is that the authentic me? Or am I like the guy with, the calm composure? And at this point, I don't know. And to be honest, I don't even know if it's worth looking too much into it, because I think that too could become a big problem. But going back to dating and having a structure and, figuring out dating as someone on the spectrum, I think that if you try to be as authentic as possible while you're on a date, but you have structure for how to do it, I think that's the best approach. And I have that structure. If you want to take a look at it, there's a link in the description there's a Masterclass and a PDF with some basic information about how I structure a date and a series of dates in order to have a date lead somewhere. If that is an intimate connection you want, or if it's a relationship, whatever it is. It's really just a series of milestones and a series of behaviors that, if you do those behaviors and do those things, it leads towards your desired result. So take a look at it if you want. But for me, testing out, this video, I'm going to probably jump a little bit back and forth. I hope you're okay with it. I'm not sure how to make these videos yet, because I'm very fresh at this. So I just kind of like to let the camera roll, and I'll just talk about the things that come to my mind. I might do it differently later on, but this is how I've decided to do it for now. But when I started going out and meeting women, I would focus on specific parts of it at a time. And over time, I would get more and more comfortable with those specific parts. So one of those parts is eye contact. So on a date and in a situation with someone of the opposite sex, you can have a lot of eye contact. If you want, you don't have to do it all the time, obviously. But eye contact creates a lot of tension and a lot of like physical tension, which is a good thing on a date. And as I started practicing it and doing it more, I got more comfortable with it. And for me now, I'm very comfortable with having eye contact. I actually appreciate having a lot of eye contact. But if I look back at my 15-year-old self, that guy didn't want to have a lot of eye contact. So that guy would never look people in the eye. So if you look at that, I think taking a behavior like eye contact and kind of, I wouldn't say forcing myself to do it maybe, but trying it out on a lot of different dates and getting more comfortable with it could be looked at as a way of kind of trying to treat my autism. But I mean, it worked, right? So now I'm comfortable with having eye contact and very glad I did it. Another thing for me that was very difficult was physicality, like physical touch and knowing when to touch someone, like how'd I do it? I remember when I was going out a lot, I was going to clubs and pubs, and I would look at a woman and I would go up to her and I would talk to her, but my hands would be in my pockets, right? And I was like, how do I now move my hands from my pockets and like, initiate some kind of touch? How'd I do it? And I remember I went out, I had 30 days. I went out every single day. And my goal was to work on one thing, and that was getting comfortable with physical touch. So at that point, I would, first I would just keep my hands out of my pocket. And then when I would talk to a woman, the moment I met her, I would just put my arm on her shoulder, something like this, and say, hey, I wanted to meet you. What's your name? Or something like that. And once I started doing that, and I did it over those 30 days, it got more and more comfortable for me to do it. So at this point, I don't have a problem with initiating physicality. So these are things that have been a part of that journey for me, to be able to date mostly neurotypical women the way I see it. If I think back, I think I've certainly been on dates with a few women that have autism, I'm pretty sure, when I look back at it. But mostly I've been dating neurotypical women. And this process, taking these baby steps, is what has enabled me to get comfortable with it. And another big thing was for me to figure out, okay, so I'm on a date. What is a date? Like, what is a date? Okay, so you meet someone, you decide to sit down at a pub or a cafe or whatever it is. And over this period of time, we're getting to know each other and figuring out if we like each other. Like, what is that? Like, what is that? And what are the steps that have to happen in order for this to go smoothly? And it would take me a long time to figure that out, but I did figure it out. And it all has to do with moving the interaction forward. So you start at a surface level, getting to know each other, and then you get to know each other on a deeper, more personal level by the way you talk to each other. And at the same time, you have to show some kind of interest, that you're interested in the person, not on just a platonic level, but also on a physical, romantic level. And you do that by displaying certain behaviors like eye contact, a little bit of a smile with eye contact, physicality, by flirting or giving her, some direct, maybe not compliments directly, but some direct intention. Like you would just say, hey, I love your eyes. And also moving the conversation forward by planning what to do at other times, like or date number 2 or number 3 or whatever it is. So again, the structure is, if you want to take a look at it, it's in the link. I don't want this video to go out, to just go on forever, but I think I've said most of what I wanted to say for now. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts about it. And I'm also curious to hear what kind of experience you have with dating and what experience you have with meeting someone you're interested in and seeing if you're able to communicate your interest, or, what your experience with getting into a relationship is, and if you've been happy in relationships or if you just appreciate being on your own and all that. I don't know. Like, if you want to just comment below, I'll be looking at your comments, and I'm very interested in hearing your thoughts. And primarily, that's why I've made this channel, because I love the idea of the internet, is that autistic people before, then most were undiagnosed anyways, wouldn't be at a place to meet them. But now you can meet on the internet, and you can build a community, and you can figure out what's working for people. And I've spent so much of my life trying to figure out how to make dating work. And I've, in my opinion, succeeded. It depends on what your definition of success is, but I've had dates with the type of women that I like, and I've had the experiences that I want to have with the type of women that I like. And I've been in relationships, and I can go on a date tomorrow if I want to, because, well, I know how to do online dating, right? So I know how to make a good profile. I know how to text on the online dating platforms. So I feel this is valuable information that I want to share. So I'll continue putting out videos for at least the next 6 months, a couple of times a week. Like, if no one's interested, that's okay. I'm just gonna stop doing it at that point. But okay, I'm just gonna end it now. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts and your experiences, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.